Speaking of legitimacy being undermined to the extent
That's a good transition.
Chris Cuomo, you will recall after everything broke with his brother and he was forced to ultimately resign, Chris suddenly went on a birthday vacation. So we didn't hear from him for a week. And actually, I have to say, the fact that then, Afghanistan collapsed and that was what he stepped back into kind of pushed the spotlight off of him and his brother, but we did not want to let them off the hook here. So he did respond to all of the events that have been unfolding and some of the allegations against him directly on CNN this week. Let's take a listen to what Chris Cuomo had to say.
I've told you it's never easy being in this business and coming from a political family, especially now. This situation is unlike anything I could have imagined. And yet I know what matters at work and at home. Everyone knows you support your family. I know and appreciate that you get that. But you should also know I never covered my brother's troubles because I obviously have a conflict. And there are rules at CNN about that. I said last year that his appearances on this show would be short-lived. And they were. The last was over a year ago, long before any kind of scandal. I also said back then that a day would come when he would have to be held to account, and I can't do that. I said point blank, I can't be objective when it comes to my family. So I never reported on the scandal. And when it happened, I tried to be there for my brother. I'm not an advisor. I'm a brother. I wasn't in control of anything. I was there to listen and offer my take. And my advice to my brother was simple and consistent. Own what you did. Tell people what you'll do to be better. Be contrite. And finally, accept that it doesn't matter what you intended. What matters is how your actions and words were perceived. And yes, while it was something I never imagined ever having to do, I did urge my brother to resign when the time came. There are stories and critics saying all kinds of things about me, many unsupported. But know this, my position has never changed. I never misled anyone about the information I was delivering or not delivering on this program. I never attacked nor encouraged anyone to attack any woman who came forward. I never made calls to the press about my brother's situation. I never influenced or attempted to control CNN's coverage of my family. And as you know, back in May, when I was told to no longer communicate with my brother's aides in any group meetings, I acknowledged it was a mistake. I apologized to my colleagues, and I stopped, and I meant it.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Krystal. I feel sorry for everybody that we had to play them the entire thing.
There's so much going on here. First of all, I want to tackle, I'm not an advisor, I'm a brother. Okay. And he says, some of these allegations are unsupported. We have the Attorney General report that includes an email that you drafted for him.
Drafted a literal statement.
Drafted a statement for your brother, who you were clearly advising in a political sense, basically being unrepentant about, the allegations that were coming out around sexual harassment and ultimately some allegations also of sexual assault. So the idea, and it wasn't like they were talking about it over Sunday dinner. He was on calls regularly and repeatedly, that's the other thing we got out of the AG report, with not just his brother, but his brother's campaign advisors, with the lawyers, all of them part of a regular group, like a round table of advisors as he was moving through this crisis. So don't let him spin this nonsense on you. The other thing that is always just so incredibly disingenuous is he was happy to have his brother on his show when the times were good. And then the minute the news turned negative, then suddenly said, I can't talk about my brother. Well, you could talk about him when the news was good. There was nothing wrong with doing that at the time in your view. So you have to be completely consistent. When you have a conflict of interest, it's not hard to figure out what to do. You're hands off. You're either completely hands-on and you fully disclose, or you're completely hands-off. He tried to play it both ways. And then the last one I have to say is this idea of, I never put calls into the press. I never attempted to influence CNN's coverage. You are CNN's coverage.
Exactly. The highest rated.
The highest rated. Yeah. It's a low bar. Highest rated CNN primetime host. You don't think what happens on your hour affects CNN coverage, what a ridiculous thing to say.
I think the second point you made was the most important, which is that, look, if they had a consistent standard, that Chris Cuomo would never interview his brother, ever, fine, so be it.
Yeah, that's
I actually be like, that's quite appropriate.
Yeah.
Like, if I had a family member and I'd be like, look, no matter whether it's good or bad, I ain't ever gonna cover it. I think that is an entirely fair thing to say. But whenever you have the good times and you're propping him up and you're making jokes about mom, why don't you call mom, and you're schnoz and holding up the thing, like how did this fit into your colossal, joking around, and then all of a sudden when the times turn bad, you come out and you say, look, obviously I know what's going on, I can't cover it, other people are gonna cover it. That is the most ludicrous suggestion that there is. And this is a joke of a news organization. And really what it is it's shameful and cowardly. He should stand up and say, I screwed up. I put this network in a bad position when I did that, and now I apologize. Jake Tapper, his own colleague, even called him out, saying that he had put us all in a bad position.
I can't imagine how anyone would think that was appropriate.
Right, and then Brian Stelter, though, the little janitor that he is, goes and he's like, well, it's just so crazy, right?
Who would know what to do?
Who would know what to do? It's actually pretty simple. Like, there's been entanglements before.
Yeah,
you
no
just
one's ever
don't
had a
do
conflict of interest before. That's never happened in
And
journalism.
the funny thing is, Krystal, this goes back years. It's not just CNN. He interviewed Cuomo whenever he was at ABC. He has had his brother on his network for years. He has used his position in power in order to prop up the political career of his brother. He is a grade A liar, and really what they are banking on is Afghanistan, sadly, for everybody to just completely forget about it. So I don't think you should. I don't think you should forget. It'll work. It'll work.
And also just think about the highly inconsistent standard that CNN has applied. They fired Mark Lamont Hill for comments that he made about Israel-Palestine.
Yeah.
They fired Rick Santorum for they were gross comments in my opinion.
What he said about
Native Americans some comments he made in a speech about Native Americans. And this dude, he's not fired. He's not even punished. He's not censored. He's not taken off the air. Yeah. He doesn't even have to apologize. Nothing in the way of any sort of punishment or accountability here. It just tells you what their bottom line is. The bottom line. It's just naked. It's complete mask off. Cuomo gets their highest ratings, and so they're not going to touch him. They're going to let him do whatever he wants. Next time if his brother makes a political comeback and he's back in the news, he's going to do the same shit all over again. No, clearly, he doesn't think anything he did, whether or not he thinks it's wrong is beside the point. He wouldn't change a thing. That's what comes out of this little statement.
Yeah, no. It shows that not only would they not change anything, that they would do it all over again, that they're not sorry. But I think what's worse is this. They know the CNN audience doesn't care. And actually, that's the part that makes me the most sad, which is that there are so many millions of people who are just so bought into the tribal warfare and the partisanship on all of this that they're willing to just forgive what really should be the unforgivable. And they're not willing to hold the people that give them the news to the standard that they should be. And that's actually probably the saddest part of this whole thing. Yeah, is that he's going to get away with it.
As long as he toes the line that the audience wants to hear, then I think he's
going to be okay.
I think you're right about that.
Yeah, it really makes me sad.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.